This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. Fan.
Hardcore football.
He ain't heavy. He's a punter.
You lucky suckers.
Jimmy Squeezy.
Vikes Bites.
It's a covenant cleanup.
I always love that one.
Personal foul. Clipping.
Shall we begin?
Here we go, Paul!
And boom, 9 to noon is in the air, and it's a Wednesday. Welcome, a dear friend of ours and analyst for Minnesota Vikings football.
The Analyst.
Pete Bercich begins the conversation. Hey, Pete, good morning. It's Paul Allen. What's going on, my brother?
Not much. Good morning, and thank you for letting me kick off the show today. It's quite the honor.
Well, thank you for the wonderful Eye in the Sky YouTube film breakdowns that you've been putting out of late, and we're going to get into that momentarily. They're very, very cool. I have a request for Monday, Monday day of the Viking-Chicago Bears game on KFAN. Any chance you can drive me around the unseen realm parts of Chicago like you did in 2010? That was excellent. That was excellent. And good morning.
Yeah, good morning. No, yeah, we've been doing this for so long. We went down to El Farrell, or what we call Burritoville, in Summit, where my dad grew up, and the food, the atmosphere. There's so many places to go. The problem is anywhere you go, whether it's a mile or 10 miles, it's going to be at least a half hour to get there. Because the traffic here is a real thing.
Wow!
And on a Monday with a Monday night football game, downtown is going to be insane. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere. This town is. They're so fired up about Ben Johnson and the changes and everything they're doing. So the NFL does it right. I mean, I don't know what kind of fairy dust they sprinkle on the computer to come up with this schedule, but they definitely do it right. And this is going to be a playoff atmosphere day one.
You given you're in Chicago a majority of the time, do you ever listen to Waddle and Sylvie? Because Sylvie's on the radio show today at 11 o'clock, and I'm just wondering what to expect.
Yeah, I'm back and forth. I have a place up in Minnesota and a place here, and so I'm back and forth. But I've gotten to know, I know you're having Adam Hoge on later. Excuse me, great guy. They're excited here. I think they're concerned about their corners. Who's going to be healthy. I know that they believe they're going to be running a lot of man-to-man and that type of aggressive, corners rolling up and jamming type of a situation. So I think defensively is where, for the Bears, that's their main concern right now, at least on the street out here.
Now, Bears coach Ben Johnson and Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores and Pete's YouTube channel, Eye in the Sky. So go to YouTube and find Pete Bercich, Eye in the Sky. Subscribe or hit that button if you are so inclined. Why do you think Monday night comes down to this pairing?
Paul, I think with all the film rooms that I've done over the years, you kind of look at a game and watch the film and then try to figure out what kind of story it tells. And when you sit and look at Brian Flores' record, and then you look versus Ben Johnson when he's with the Lions, and then Brian and then Ben Flores' record against the Chicago Bears. Okay, so against the Bears, our guy Flores is 4-0, and the defense has given up on average. I'm sorry, he's 3-1, giving up an average of 16 points a game. And oh, by the way, the game that he lost, we only gave up 12 points. We lost 12-10. But against the Lions over the last two seasons, we're 0-4, and we've given up a little bit over 30 points per game. Now, granted, we forget that with 2 minutes left to go in the third quarter, that week 18 game was only 10-9. So we were in it almost all the way to the end. You forget that. You remember the end, but you remember the end of the game and how the feeling was. You don't remember that we were right in it till the end. But zero, what's going to happen? What's going to give? Is it going to be closer to the 16-point average, or is it going to be the 30-point average? And then you start thinking, okay, is it Ben Johnson's system, or is it the players that the Detroit Lions have? And that's where the film comes in, because that kind of tells you what is it? Is it this or is it that? And then you start to see, okay, what's worked well for the Vikings defense and what hasn't. And you start to learn a little bit more about Ben Johnson and how he has preferred to attack or try to attack the Brian Flores system. And I think once you realize all of that, you see a pretty simple, straightforward running game, okay, that Jahmyr Gibbs was able to execute. I mean, the guy we gave up 12 rushing touchdowns last year. Jahmyr Gibbs had 5 of them. 3 of those 5 touchdowns, by the way, Paul, were out of 2-back I formations. Right? So it's like, it's not the scheme. It's not like some crazy or some running, some specific type of run game that he's kept it simple. But it's been the play action passes where the Lions have had the most success against this defense and Ben Johnson. So how much, then you got to sit there and go, okay, how much of that's going to transfer over into what they're going to do Monday night? That means this: they have to run the ball, but they're going to have to do it with DeAndre Swift against the 5th best rushing defense in the league last year, who I think we all think is going to be as good, if not better. That's the big part early in this game. Can they make any hay on the ground running the football? Because if they can, then Ben Johnson is the play action. He loves the play action, this defense. Will he be able to? Will he, or will he change it? Because will he be able to put Caleb Williams in situations where he can scramble, pull the thing down and run? That's kind of the direction that you go. Because people, you sit there, normally when you play a game, you have 3 weeks or 4 weeks of film to break down what the opponents do. What are we going to do against this and that? Well, in a game like this, how does Brian Flores plan for it? Right? You asked Coach O'Connell that in your interview yesterday, which was fantastic. You're like, what do you do? Right? And he's like, well, you make sure you know what you're doing. You can make adjustments. You assume some things, and that's what we're doing. And that's what I'm doing with all this film is to just look at it and say, what story is it telling, and what truly happened to this defense against the Detroit Lions and Ben Johnson to get that 30-point number, and how much of it's going to carry over. Can he replicate it here? Is it going to? Because it could be maybe something completely different. I don't know, but that's what I expect, and I expect Flores to pin his ears back, throw the kitchen sink at Caleb Williams, and make him make adjustments, and never let him feel comfortable. So you pile all that on top of new Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, and some of the new toys that we have on defense up front. I am as excited about this football game as I've been for any opener. You said the same thing yesterday too.
Yeah.
This is about as excited for an opening game as I've been in a long time for all of those reasons. Not that this game matters any more than any of the opening games in the past, but man, is this intriguing it's such an intriguing matchup.
The way you just shared all that, I have a guest at 9:20. And I'm wishing I didn't at this moment, simply because
The Analyst.
I mean, I need to marathon this courtesy of Steve's Appliances, but I can't. And when Adam Hoge joins, he's going to give some terrific Bears analysis. So just off what you just said, Ben Johnson, coach of the Bears, wants to run play action. All right, the Lions ran either the first or second most play action plays of anybody in the NFL last year and during his time there. Well, now we go to Caleb Williams. all the time they put into Caleb in the offseason working under center because he never did it at USC and he's not comfortable doing it. And I don't think that's been great this offseason. And the best play action comes from under center turning your back on a defense, as you know.
Correct.
Well, that's fascinating for Monday night. Secondly, DeAndre Swift averaged 3.8 yards per run last year. But last time he was with Ben in 2022, it was a career high 5.5 per carry. Now, the 2022 Lions weren't as good as they were like the last couple of years. So all of that is just starting for the Chicago Bears. So we can become myopic in, yes, J.J. McCarthy's making his regular season debut. Yes, there are a lot of new components on the offense and defense, and they're also making their Vikings debuts. But on the other side of the equation, they have so much new over there that, if you can handle what Johnson has worked on all offseason, the onslaught that I feel is coming early in the game with the tricks and the best plays and the choice cuts and everything, then I think you're going to be okay as the game goes on, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at a brand new interior of the offensive line, just like we have Joe Thuney from Kansas City, Drew Dahlman from Atlanta, Jonah Jackson from the Rams. All three guys up front new. The good news is that Braxton Jones will probably still be at left tackle, who Grenard's had a lot of success against, so they're going to want to help him out the best they can. Ozzie Trapilo is the backup second-round draft pick. Roshan Johnson is the backup running back. My point is they have a lot of new faces up front, just like the Minnesota Vikings do.
Yeah,
it's amazing in this division. That's 6 new linemen out of 10 in just this game alone with these two teams, and we expect both teams to be better than they were a year ago, right? Everyone's expectation is that. So they have a lot of new pieces, and so there's going to be a lot of new and different about this offense. But that's what a defense, for a young quarterback with McCarthy, the best thing for us is to have a very good running game and a very good defense. I cannot wait to see Jordan Mason on the grass in Chicago run the football. I mean, nothing against Aaron Jones. He's fantastic, but I cannot wait to see Jordan Mason get out there and run. And I think he might be the surprise for us on offense with just his ability to, crack some yards open and 4-man front. Yeah, they've got some guys back like Javon Dexter and some of the other guys up front that are pretty good.
Yeah, they got Grady Jarrett,
Andrew Billings. I mean, Javon Dexter. It's too bad we get him early in the season because I think the fresher he is, the better he is. He's one of those guys, Paul, that the first couple series, look out.
Yeah, he was dynamite with the Gators, and it's continued in the NFL. Pete Bercich, the analyst.
The analyst.
Once again, via YouTube, what I do, it's Pete Bercich 56, okay? But I go to the search bar, and I put in Bercich Eye in the Sky. And then what you get are these excellent film breakdowns the analyst is offering us. The most recent is Brian Flores versus Ben Johnson. That's 27 minutes of wonderful football minutia. Before that, Caleb Williams. New offense, same Caleb, ? And then we have how Max Brosmer just put the NFL on notice. He put him on notice. He put him on notice,
a little hyperbolic, maybe, but I'm so excited about that guy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's time to move on and talk about who's going to be out there and who's going to start. Right. But I don't think the Brosmer story is over by any means. I mean, what a fabulous job that young man did, and like you said, undrafted quarterbacks don't make opening day rosters too often. This kid was able to pull it off without a lot of reps, without a lot of coaching, without a lot of anything. So that's why I love the NFL, because players like Brosmer can find a way to fit. A Josh Metellus, who's a late round draft pick, can find a way to be a starter and be a great player in this system. That's why I love the NFL.
What do you expect from Thielen week 1?
Quite a bit. I think he's going to get a lot of work the first couple of weeks, especially in the red zone. That's where, if you look at Thielen and his career things, he's 30. I think he's the oldest receiver in the NFL at this moment. So I expect to see a lot of him in the red zone. He's an unbelievably good route runner, and the red zone is where that matters. So I think Thielen's going to have a huge impact in this game coming up, I think a lot of it's going to be at the 20-yard line and in.
What kind of game do you want to see from McCarthy in his debut?
I think the turnover part of it is the big one. Because you can put up some pretty gaudy numbers or good numbers for a rookie, but if you're turning the ball over 2 times, 3 times a game, and the defense isn't able to match that, we have been in the past, but I'm just saying, sometimes the best thing to do on third down if something isn't there is to get rid of the football and punt. And it sucks and you hate it when you're watching it. You hate it. But it's better than trying to take a chance and throwing the football to the other team. So that's like the 10,000-foot level is whatever that score sheet is and whatever his passer rating is. I don't care how many touchdowns he throws per se. It's just that interception column is the one that I'm going to be paying attention to, and that's the big one.
Last one for the analyst, Pete Bercich, at Pete Bercich via the tweet machine. And Pete joins each and every Monday during the 2025 NFL season, courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com. We haven't seen Jefferson since the playoff game in Arizona. Do you envision this being the bracket double stuff? He saw so much last season, especially given they might have trouble getting to the quarterback. Yes,
and yes. I mean, he's got to be their number one concern going into this. I mean, you have him, and then who's number 2, right? You got an Adam Thielen that you got to be concerned about, and then a Jalen Naylor. Well, I mean, I would assume they feel good about a Jalen Johnson matchup or a Kyler Gordon matchup with any one of those 2 receivers. So they're going to be hyper focused on Justin Jefferson. A couple of, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, we've seen them for years. They're 2 solid linebackers to take care of the underneath. So how much is Hockenson going to matter in this game, right? And that could be another surprise, is that McCarthy and Hockenson, that connection is working. So, yes, their main concern is going to be number 18, no question about it.
Good work on the YouTube videos, and I will see you either Sunday night in the Windy City or sometime Monday. And thank you very much for starting 9 to noon on this Wednesday, okay?
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother. That's Pete Bercich, the analyst. The in-booth analyst for the vast and ever-expanding KFAN Minnesota Vikings audio network. Brett Blakemore produces 9 to noon today, and I'm Paul Allen. What's coming up on deck, courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com, includes more Vikings-Bears analysis about an hour from now, in fact, at 10 o'clock. Yours truly crafted something called 32 and 23. And about midway through it, I was regretting that I started writing this yesterday. It's a pop or 2 or 3 on every team in the National Football League, and we really, really, really hope you enjoy it. That takes place at about 10:03. Plus, with that, I will unveil 14 playoff teams I think are playoff bound after the 2025 season. Aren't y'all excited about that?
I always love that one.
Thank you for listening to 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. We're back after this.
Is coming to Minneapolis. You can join Willie Nelson, Neil Young, Kenny Chesney, Dave Matthews, and more Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium. Celebrate 40 years of music, food, and family farming. Limited tickets still available. Get full details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Chicago Bears, ha ha ha, you're not in face.
Joining us now is Adam Hoge. He hosts a bunch of super popular podcasts on Chicago sports, with the main focus heading the way of the Chicago Bears. At Adam Hoge to learn more, and I especially enjoy the Hoge and John's podcast, where Adam and the bricklayer hit the Bears hard with wonderful, wonderful minutia. And let me get this out of the way early. Adam, Paul Allen, thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, PA, good to talk to you. Cannot wait for this game. It feels like we've been waiting forever, but cannot wait to dive into it here.
Adam Hoge, I am saying your last name right, correct?
That is right. Yep, it's Hoge.
Yeah, I think Bercich may have just butchered it, but he might have done it as a bit. So let me get this out of the way. With those 5 concerts recently at Soldier Field and a sod replacement in play, what do you think of the potential field conditions Monday night? Because I'm the only one that's taking this seriously on a Tuesday and Wednesday for a Monday game. Is it just not a thing?
So, I mean, you know this because of all the games you've covered there. It is most certainly has been a thing over the years. And for years and years and years, they couldn't get it fixed. And I will say this, I mean, everybody looks at the Matt Eberflus era in Chicago as a complete and utter disaster. But the one thing that guy did do somehow as the head coach, was fix the sod at Soldier Field. This Bermuda to Hoge 31, I think they call it. They bring it in from the south. It somehow doesn't go dormant even in December. Whatever they're doing to it, it has been so much better. So our indication is in the last couple of years, this has not been as big of a problem, even when they've had to resod it. I'm not going to say it's perfect because it is Soldier Field and sometimes there are issues, but the field looked great in the preseason, and I would expect it to be in pretty good shape Monday night.
To Hoge 31, it sounds like Saucy's favorite strain.
I always love that one.
So what do you think of rookie tight end Colston Loveland? Is he an impact guy early?
I think so. We all know how hard it is for rookie tight ends to really catch on. So I'm sure there'll be growing pain. But I'll tell you what, two things really encouraged me in training camp, and I was at all the practices. The first one, he was coming off a shoulder surgery in the off season, and when he showed up rookie minicamp, he couldn't do anything, but he was out there, and I got to be honest, he looked pretty skinny. It looked like somebody had to put some strength back on if he was going to block, at this NFL level early on. In the preseason, and it only took him a few practices to finally get out there, the first thing he did in practice was catch a pass from Caleb Williams right away, I think on his very first rep. This guy gets open. He runs routes like a wide receiver. That's why he was drafted 10th overall, and that's a real thing. But can he block is the big question. Well, if you turn on the tape from the preseason, this guy was pancaking guys, evidently put that strength back on, and the Bears did say that when they drafted him, that they were very optimistic about not only his ability to block, but also his willingness to block, because you got to be willing to do it. And so it's been nothing but good signs there for a rookie tight end. Now, they do have Cole Kmet. I would expect in this first game, Cole Kmet to get more of the reps overall when we're looking at those rep counts after the game. But we also know with Ben Johnson, he's going to run plenty of 12 personnel and have both of them out there at the same time.
Adam, what do you think of the Minnesota Vikings into the 2025, especially LaGrange Park native J.J. McCarthy?
Well, first of all, I understand why they've been sort of pegged as a regression candidate when you look at the 9-1 record and one-score games, leading the league in takeaways. Typically, that's hard to replicate. But that being said, I'm not on that side of the fence. Well, I sort of am, but here's the thing. So they won 14 games last year, right? So, okay, they regress a little bit. They could still win 11 and win the division. And I think everybody would take that in Minnesota probably, especially with a rookie quarterback. I like J.J. McCarthy, very familiar with him. I coach in the Catholic League here in the Chicago area, so very familiar with Nazareth and his college and his high school career, I should say, before he even went off to Michigan. And he's answered the bell at every single stop of his. I think he's a gamer. I think he's a winner. I love his hockey background. I'm a hockey guy myself, just in terms of being a fan. So all of those things, he checks a lot of those boxes that I think he's going to be a very smart, winning type quarterback that's going to have the grit that you need, especially in the NFC North, even at that quarterback position. Now, all that being said, Are there going to be growing pains? Absolutely. He's certainly a much different quarterback than Sam Darnold, in my opinion. I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to be the same deep ball type passing offense that they have been, and I think that that's going to be a requirement from Kevin O'Connell. And I'm sure you guys have talked about this endlessly this summer, I'm sure, but beefing up this running game and taking a little bit off the load of a quarterback that quite frankly just doesn't have the same arm strength, and so you're going to have to adjust as an offensive coordinator.
All righty, so Adam, wait, you coach special teams for, I assume it's Carmel Catholic Corsairs football? That's correct, yes. It's Carmel, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you say Carmel. I just say Carmel, so Carmel.
Got it. Carmel Catholic Corsairs football. Adam Hoge is the special teams. What got you into that?
Well, honestly, COVID did a little bit. They moved the season to the spring, and I finally had some time to coach. And full transparency, I was the special teams coordinator for 5 seasons, and I did take a step back this year. I'm still helping out the team, but I'm not in that coordinator role anymore because it got a little too crazy during football season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just I love football that much, and I love coaching, and I love having a difference with the kids. It's been very, very rewarding.
Have you ever wanted to run up to Cairo Santos and offer him some tips?
See, now there's the thing, and even NFL special teams coordinators know this. There's a difference between being a special teams coordinator and knowing anything there is about kicking a football. That's why there's like kicking coaches and consultants that teams bring in sometimes. You learn some things, but trust me, those NFL kickers know a heck of a lot more about kicking a football, punters too, than usually the coordinators even do, even at the NFL level.
Now, I connected the dots here with Adam, and I've watched several over the summer, spring and summer, since I met Adam and Johns, the bricklayer, his co-host at the NFL Combine at a Courtney Cronin event on a Monday night, and really happy that I met you guys because now at Adam Hoge, Hoge. You can follow these Bears related podcasts, and I watched one yesterday that was 45 to 50 minutes, and early into it. You said, well, I'm just going to ask you like this. Why do you think Ben Johnson doesn't seem like a first-year head coach? I heard you say that, but what's the explanation?
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say that there's some gut feeling in that a little bit. But, you know, we have covered plenty of coaches here that have not worked out. And usually you see early on and you start making those excuses a little bit. Okay, well, he's a first-time head coach. He's got to learn this, whatever it is. I don't know what it is about Ben Johnson, but from the moment this guy walked in his introductory press conference and handled whatever checklist you go through during the offseason, right, whether it's the NFL Combine, then you got the owners' meetings, then you got OTAs, he just has not – Paul, it just seems like he's been there. It seems like he's already been here for more than a year. The way he handles his press conferences, the way his players talk about him. We have been bamboozled in this town before and bought in a little bit too much with these coaches. I kept trying to tell myself this offseason I wasn't going to do it. But I have to say Ben Johnson has earned the benefit of the doubt in the amount of accountability that we've seen, which has always been a problem here. And the way his players have really bought in. Now, I'm not saying it's not perfect, and he's, got full control of his team. You never know until you start losing some football games come September, October, whatever it is. Then you respond to that adversity. That'll be the true test. But to this point, Ben Johnson, it just seems like you're talking to a seasoned NFL head coach already.
Now, the just a couple to close here, Adam. Thanks for the time. The Bears' best corner is Jalen Johnson. If they get him ready for Monday off injury and he's not 100%, could that hinder his desire to run with Justin Jefferson?
His desire, probably not. Jalen Johnson is the type of corner that he'll have to be held back. by the coaching staff, in my opinion. He was talking a big game, I thought, in the offseason. I think he's one of the many players on this defense that fit Dennis Allen's scheme actually better than they fit Matt Eberflus's scheme. A lot of times you have a coordinator switch, and you've got to switch pieces in and out. You're like, this player, it's a weird thing, but I actually think most of these players fit more of an aggressive style defense than Matt Eberflus's defense, which was just sit back and kind of keep things in front of you and hope the other team makes a mistake. And eventually they either would or they wouldn't, and they'd score a touchdown. Jalen Johnson, I think, wants to be a press man, travel with the top wide receiver type cornerback, and he was set to do that until he suffered what sounds like a very significant groin injury right before training camp. I did not like the vibes from him. He talked to the media yesterday for the first time since camp started, Paul, and he basically, he said if there was a game yesterday, he wouldn't have been able to play. That's not what I wanted to hear Tuesday before, a Monday game. That tells me he will not be 100%. And the other part of this, too, is conditioning. I don't see how he can realistically travel with Justin Jefferson the entire game, play a full game. That is going to put some stress on Deshaun Wright, who you guys know because he came over from Minnesota. He'll probably be out there having to match up against either Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson, whoever it may be. And this is definitely one of the big key matchups of this game. And not having Jalen Johnson 100%, or possibly, I think it still possibly doesn't play, Paul, and that would obviously be a big advantage for the Vikings if that's the case.
Adam, Caleb Williams, how much do you trust him? And is the Ben Johnson group exactly what he needs to take off?
Oh, man, you just asked the key question. How much do I trust him? 60% at this point.
Yeah.
And that's the type of comment that can, get pulled out, and then, you get labeled as a Caleb hater, and I'm not a Caleb hater. I just think he's a young quarterback that's got a lot on his plate right now. And a lot of that's just based off of what we saw in the preseason. Guys, we saw a ton of pre-snap penalties. We saw a guy who was thrown in the deep end and quite frankly struggled at times. On the other hand, when things did go smoothly pre-snap and he dropped back and they do have a much better offensive line and he had protection, he made some incredible throws, some good decisions, and we saw all these pieces on offense look really good. The hope, I think, for Bears fans this week is that those pre-snap penalties in camp were a result of them loading him up, and that was the plan from Ben Johnson. So can they dial that back down, maybe take 30% of what they worked on all summer, dial it into the Minnesota Vikings, have a good a game plan, have that drilled into his head, and it theoretically could go better. Going up against the Brian Flores defense, where he's trying to create confusion the entire game, has me a little worried about that going smoothly. So I would not expect a completely, error-free game, but it's not like he turns the ball over a lot at the same time. So if they can read things pre-snap, get the ball out, and he can play in rhythm, then it should look pretty good. But I also think there's going to be times in this game where it's like, okay, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's kind of what I'm expecting in week 1 here.
30 seconds, you get it all. I find it to be just amazing. Through, I think it's 105 years of Chicago Bears football, that they never have had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards or more. I mean, It is the 105 is accurate, I assume. And I mean, that's just amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's depressing. It's all those things. I will say this. I do think it could happen this year, and that's because of Ben Johnson and these weapons. Even if Caleb's not perfect and he makes mistakes, there's going to be chunk plays in this offense, and that's not a high bar, 4,000. So I think it's possible this year.
Hey, man, you and the Bricklayer do really, really good work with that podcast at Adam, Hoge, to learn more. I appreciate you. Go Corsairs, and maybe I'll see you Monday night, okay?
Yes, sounds good, Paul. Thanks for having me on, and enjoy your trip to Chicago.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. That's some Bears intel because it's Bears week for the Minnesota Vikings.
Fall down, Chicago Bears. Ha, ha, ha. You're not in phase.
PFT, yeah, you know we is next. coming. Alrighty, 9 to noon is back in the air. Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com will be joining us very shortly. Anthony Barr, recently retired Minnesota Vikings linebacker Anthony Barr, joins 1 hour from now. Meanwhile, let's head to the roads, either of West Virginia or Pennsylvania. It's Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com, author of several books, including his newest, Big Shield. ProFootballTalk.com for information on the books and much more. Mike is driving to Philadelphia right now for high-level NBC meetings and tomorrow's Football Night in America season opener with the Eagles hosting the Cowboys. Mike, is the drive from rural West Virginia to Philadelphia beautiful and cathartic? And good morning.
Well, it's beautiful, it's cathartic, and you're tardy. And because you're 7 minutes late, there's a chance we're going to lose cell coverage before this is over. I tried to time the drive out just right so we'd have good cell coverage, but someone was 7 minutes late. And good morning. And good morning. Did the Cowboys get over on the Packers with Micah Parsons and this back, or are the reports planted by those with agendas? I believe that we would not be hearing anything about a Micah Parsons back problem if Micah Parsons had gotten the contract that he wanted, or if this had all been resolved back in March and the Cowboys had traded him then and gotten more in return. It got ugly, and Parsons was able to work the system in his favor by pointing to a back injury that if he'd had his long-term security, he would have played through. But there may be enough there to justify him not practicing or playing without long-term security, but I don't think it would have been an issue. It wouldn't have been a blip. And I think they realized when he said last week in his introductory press conference, physically I'm great, I think they realized they needed to scrape a little something off of their shoe that they'd stepped into. Yeah. Are the Eagles the target at which to shoot in the NFC, just the NFC, or the entire National Football League? Eagles against the field in the NFC, but whoever they face, if they get back to the Super Bowl, will be battle-tested, battle-hardened, ready to go, especially if it's the Bills or the Ravens finally getting their shot. And, hey, the Chiefs, an opportunity at redemption after getting blown off the field. You know, a few plays here or there in the first quarter of that game, and it could be a different outcome. I remember reacting in the press box with the other PFT writers when Xavier Worthy was open down the left sideline and Patrick Mahomes didn't pull the trigger. He throws that ball and they score that touchdown in that spot. You got a different ball game the rest of the way. So I think that Eagles should be favored to get back. Once we get there, we'll see what happens. Do you feel they milk Saquon Barkley the way they did last season when he cracked a bunch of NFL records? Is that even possible 2 years in a row? Well, here's the reality of playing running back in the NFL. Good luck staying healthy for 34 straight regular season games and postseason games. And it's bad form to say, oh, I think so-and-so is going to be injured. But I think it's appropriate to say we need to consider the bigger picture here. Look at all the consternation that folks have when they have the first pick in their fantasy draft now. Because whoever is presumed to be the best guy ends up getting hurt, like Christian McCaffrey last year. Running back is a difficult position, and it's a meat grinder. And we've seen it with Saquon Barkley. He has ankle injuries. He's had a torn ACL. Last year worked out perfectly. Last year means nothing to this year. So, yeah, they could do it if he stays healthy, but the nature of the position is it's very, very difficult to stay healthy all year long. That's fair. Florio. ProFootballTalk.com. Don't forget about Big Shield. What intrigues you about Vikings at Bears and Monday Night Football? I like how you're saying Big Shield. I like that. I'm gonna have to start using that. Maybe that'll help goose the sales. Not that they need goosing, but maybe that'll help. Monday night, looking forward to getting home, going down to the barn, hunkering down with my son, getting some food, having a couple drinks, watching the Vikings and the Bears. I want to see J.J. McCarthy under the lights in a game that counts. How's it going to look? How's it going to go, especially without Jordan Addison there? And then we've got the new and the old, Adam Thielen back. What a weird vibe that's going to be. And then what can Ben Johnson do with the Bears? He said some stuff after their preseason finale that suggested that he's got concern about the offense. How much of that is just bluster and gamesmanship? How much of it is he really concerned about? We'll find out.
Mike Florio, what about the Lions at the Packers the day before? What do you think of that one?
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that because it finally registered. And this was a take that my son had the other night when we were talking about the Bears and Packers game looming in week 1. If we're not going to reseed after the regular season, if that division championship is going to carry with it an automatic home game and one of the top 4 seeds in the conference, why do we have so many division games right out of the gates? Why don't we play the division games in October at the earliest? Let's give these teams a chance to get their sea legs before we play these games that have extra ramifications. And for the Lions and the Packers, hey, now that Micah Parsons is in the fold, do we really want to have Micah Parsons right out of the gate? The Lions don't have much of a chance to get ready for him, to get him ready. I just think these division games, unless we're going to reseed, and I think eventually they will, I think these division games should not be happening. 8 of the first 16 games, week 1, division games, I think they should be later in the month, if not wait until October altogether.
That's quite fair. The Jacksonville Jaguars hired Liam Cohen for his offensive expertise. So do you think that means Trevor Lawrence finally starts looking the part of the ballyhooed first pick in the 2021 draft?
We know he'd better for his own good. He was starting to look that way after his second season. Jaguars got to the final 8. It was kind of interesting for a while with the Chiefs. You had the Mahomes ankle injury, and Chad Henne did a nice job of keeping the Chiefs ahead. And then the Chiefs won the game, and it felt like the Jaguars were on the upswing. They've been disappointing the past 2 years. Lawrence has underperformed. And, hey, Paul, when the coach and the GM get blown out, that's a result of bad quarterback play.
Right.
And if Trevor Lawrence doesn't prove himself to Liam Cohen fairly quickly, Liam Cohen's going to start thinking about another quarterback. I think that's inevitable. Now, there'll be cap issues, but you better get it done because Liam Cohen's not going to go down with the ship just like the last 2 head coaches of the Jaguars with Lawrence did.
Right. Time for 2 more. Mike Florio driving from West Virginia.
How's the cell holding up? Are we doing all right?
Fantastic, man. And you've shortened your answers, not that long answers, bug us or anything. It's radio.
Careful.
You can go
passive aggressive. It's not a good look for anyone, including you.
You can go as long as you want, man. I can flip over to 10:05 if needed. But it's you've shortened your answers, being conscious of the potential cell service L coming at us because I was late. So we appreciate that. And the Trevor Lawrence first pick in 2021. How about those first 4 picks in that draft? Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Kyle Pitts. I mean, all considered massive underachievers, right?
I've raised the point with various people about the trade that allowed the Bears to spring up from 20 to number 11 to get Justin Fields, a guy the Vikings, you and I know, were eyeballing as he slipped through round 1
yes.
as a possibility at 13, 14. I don't know who should feel worse, the Giants or the Bears. The Giants slipped out of the spot where they could have taken Micah Parsons. The Bears jumped into the spot where they could have taken him, and they took Justin Fields. Either of those teams could have Micah Parsons. The Giants have had to deal with him, and now the Bears have to deal with him twice a year as he joins their most hated rival.
And lastly, college football. It's low-hanging fruit, but I just want to hear you talk about it. How about Belichick's Tar Heels? I mean, sloppy, afraid to throw, and those who are beating him are going to look to run it up on football immortality. He's in a tough spot, isn't he?
Well, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. The example I've used is you're trying to teach these kids how to ride a bike, or they're trying to learn how to ride a bike, and you're trying to teach them how to drive a high-speed motorcycle. It's a PhD-level education, and it's football 101. You've got 20 hours a week. That's it. 20 hours a week to try to teach these kids. And they got to learn their fundamentals. They got to get ready for the next opponent. And the players are just overmatched. 70 new players, and the players aren't good enough. Plain and simple. And there was one moment where they did a cutaway to Bill Belichick during the game, and I interpreted the look on his face as, yeah, you know what? I had a feeling it was going to go this way.
Right.
And I was right. I was right about one thing tonight. We're going to get our asses kicked.
Right. And but you got transfer portal, you got NIL, you have Bill being Bill, you got Lombardi running it. I mean, it's just everything.
Well, hey, and let's be real about Lombardi, please. His accomplishments get exaggerated by his friends in the media and by himself. His resume gets pumped into something it isn't. Lombardi isn't some football savant. He thinks he is, but he's not. And look at the team they put together. When they had the ability to go into the portal and get anyone they could afford, look at the team they put together.
Right. You know, and then also with college football, and you and I, you know, don't follow college football super closely until we get close to the combine and their big stories and stuff like that. But, you know, last year, PFT, ProFootballTalk.com, did such a good job early in the season capturing the magical experience that was taking place in Boulder, Colorado with a Deion Sanders, Shador, Travis Hunter, and so on. And you know, their first game, they lose to Georgia Tech. I don't know if you watched any of it on TV, but like that place was packed. They had unbelievable energy in there. I was wondering what was going to happen with that program with Shador and Hunter leaving, but Deion staying, and all those crazy kids are still fired up to watch the Buffaloes, right?
I haven't done a deep dive on that game, but I saw there was some criticism of his clock management. I recall that game they had a couple of years ago when they had a chance to beat USC, and it was very sluggish and slow when they were down multiple scores, and it could have been closer. So there's some finer points that I think Deion needs to work on. But look, I love Deion as a player. He's a great dad. He's a great spokesperson for the health issues he's dealt with. I think it's very inspirational to others who are dealing with cancer and bladder control issues. I love all of that. But
He was right. He was right. Now, 9 to noon ran a little late for the Mike Florio conversation. We got every question in, including a super special added one with Neon Dion. But when Mike said we're about 8 or 9 minutes from bad reception because there are a lot of mountains in West Virginia, and he's driving to Pennsylvania, and he nailed it. Perfectly timed. And we appreciate you, Mr. Florio.
Winter is coming.
ProFootballTalk.com is the website, but you already know that. When we return, yours truly is going to offer up some quick pops, some big drives, some big shields on each of the 32 teams in the National Football League. And there's a reason we're doing this. So find out what the reason is and hear a pop on your favorite team coming up around the corner. It's KFAN.